all the reports when we talked about it on the podcast a week ago were that Matt Canada was their guy. As soon as Matt Canada interviewed with the Miami Dolphins, all the reports within a couple of days after that were saying that the Steelers were going to make Matt Canada their offensive coordinator. Now, a couple of days later, the Steelers have definitely backed off of that a little bit. Not saying that they still won't make Canada the coordinator, but they have interviewed other candidates. The big name was Hue Jackson. Obviously, he's had a ton of success as an offensive coordinator in his various stops. He was in Baltimore. He was obviously in Cincinnati for a while.
Oakland.
Yes, I was like, where was it? Oakland. Yep, that was the other one. And obviously, he was the head coach with the Browns for the 2 seasons there. But in terms of him as an OC, he is really good at that. We talk about guys who can be great coordinators or position coaches and not necessarily good head coaches. Hue falls into that. If you're talking offense, Hue is going to be fine. It doesn't matter if you want to run something modern, something old school, you got mobile quarterback, non-mobile. It doesn't matter. He knows offense. He's on that type of level. Think about what Coach T as a DC, right? When it comes to defense, that's what he knows. That's where he cut his teeth at. He was the exact same way. But the thing that, in terms of why I like them bringing him in for an interview is, number one, they're doing their due diligence.
Yeah.
Initially,
I was about to say the same exact word.
Bro, because I felt like initially, man, it just kind of was like, you didn't view Canada as the guy until he got the interview with Miami. Now, because Miami's interested, now you want to get interested in him. To me, the more I thought, I was like, I don't really like that. It's like, I don't value you until somebody else values you. And now all of a sudden you're important to me. I don't like that, So, but seeing them bring in Hue, now it's like, okay, they're taking their time with this thing. I've talked to this guy. I know this guy. He's in house. Now I've talked to Hue. And then also, they haven't officially interviewed him, but they have a third guy in the mix in terms of Ike Hilliard. Ike Hilliard was the receivers coach that signed here this offseason. We talked about him. Obviously, I was with him in Buffalo. Great coach, great person. But he interviewed for the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator spot. Now, I believe the reports last night was that he wasn't going to get the spot, so he should be returning to Pittsburgh. But in terms of the role, he was the wide receivers coach. We don't have the OC yet because he interviewed as the OC in Detroit. He could be eyeing potentially trying to interview for our spot here. So because of the way the contract is set up as well, he's kind of in position to do something like that. So that's why I feel like now it's a lot more interesting when you're starting to see multiple coaches now on the staff get coordinator interviews, because that was the knock. That's always been the big knock in. Yeah. And I don't think that the knock was deserved, though. And I keep going back on this, right? Because we've talked about in the past where it was like, man, they really don't pay their coordinators. They don't pay their assistant coaches, but we expect them to be on this level. We expect them to be here. And then we were like, well, they really don't get a lot of interviews either, though, right? You don't see a lot of coaches under the Tomlin tree branching out and getting other spots. Mm-hmm. But the more I thought about it, I said, it's not necessarily that he's not having a ton of talented coaches. How much turnover do we see with the Steelers coaching staff? I think that's more of the situation here. Typically with most organizations, their coordinators, offensively or defensively, are there for 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years. 5 at best. But when you think about the Steelers, how long was LeBeau here? And then from LeBeau, how long has Butler been here? Mm-hmm. Then you think about, I think we've had a little bit more turnover at the OC spot, but Haley was here for a while.
That's kind of been it.
And then Haley to Fichtner.
Wasn't Hunt to Arians to Haley.
And then you go Haley to Fichtner. Fichtner was already in-house as the quarterback's coach. So
that's 4 coordinators over the course of almost 20 years.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I thought, I'm just like, this isn't like typical places where it's like, oh, you're only here for 2 years. Dang, you ever got another job somewhere else yet? Like, what's going on here? In Pittsburgh, because that continuity is always there, I think that that's more so why we haven't seen a lot more of these guys get interviews. Whereas now these guys are actually saying, hey, can I get permission to go interview? And they have gotten these opportunities, which is why you see Matt Canada, Terrell Austin. And then you also saw Ike Hilliard, 3 young coaches, 1 on defense, 2 on offense, getting interviews for bigger spots. So to me, I think this is a great situation going forward. And I just think as a whole, it's only going to make our staff that much better.
Now there was a 4th too.
Oh, who am I forgetting? Forgetting?
Pep Hamilton.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yeah. Yes, indeed, man.
So if you had to pick, who do you think?
Man, that's tough. Because I feel like Hue is the fail-safe. Hue, I think, can work with a Big Ben, and he's gonna command respect from Ben on day one, right? Because of his stamp, because of his legacy. We already know what he's done. It's not could he do it here? Could he do it there? When it comes to offense, he had Andy Dalton making a Pro Bowl. Like, Let's be real.
Some of those Bengals offenses were pretty good.
Absolutely. Like, even when they were winning the division, it was Dalton and his offense. They were finding ways, and we knew the weapon was AJ Green, but he still would find ways. And then not even to mention the Ocho Cinco and Hushman Zada, Carson Palmer offense that he had as well. So he knows that he's going to be fine there. So I feel like he's the fail-safe. I do think, though, in terms of the high risk, high reward, Matt Canada could potentially, though, be the wild card in this thing, right? Because of the concepts, the things that he brings from an offensive mindset perspective is different. We haven't seen it. It's innovative. It's more Sean McVay than your old school approach, right? You know what I mean? So when I think of that, I'm just like,
you're intrigued.
I am. But it makes me nervous because we only like to focus on like, and it's we do this back and forth, right? If we are intrigued by this person, we'll only think about it from a positive light. If we're skeptical, that intrigue turns into, well, maybe, lack of experience, first year at the NFL level, like you start looking at that. So that's why I'm kind of torn. I'm like, I like the intrigue, the innovativeness, but at the same time, I'm like, I haven't seen enough. I'm nervous about it. So I think Canada's the more high risk, high reward guy. I think Hue is the safest pick, though, if that makes sense.
Okay.
What about you, man?
I'm good with whoever they pick. I think it goes back to what you said at the beginning.
I'm not against Pep. I just, for me, and this was, I think, when he was not XFL, AFL, where he got fired like after 1 week. Like, I don't even think that was on him. I just think that was dysfunction with that whole situation that he had. And then obviously the league flopped a year, like not even a year later, a couple months later.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a knock on him either, though.
Well, I think he had success with the Colts with Luck. I think he had a 40 touchdown season with him as the quarterback's coach. And then obviously last year with Herbert.
Yep.
Having an awesome rookie season with Pep Hamilton as the QB coach.
I mean, probably be rookie of the year, man.
So I think each one with Canada, Jackson, Pep Hamilton. I don't know as much about Hilliard coming to the OC job, but
because see, that's like Hilliard. He's, I think, solely been wide receivers. So I just don't know overall what he knows from an offense standpoint. Whereas with Canada, because it's quarterback, you have to have like the full understanding. Quarterbacks, coaches typically transition to OCs because it's a lot similar. Whereas when you talk receivers coaches, O-line coaches, running back coaches, it's a little bit more specialized, more specific. You're not looking from a broader, it's kind of like inside linebacker versus outside linebacker. Inside linebacker, you have to be more general. You got to be able to do it all, see it all. Outside, hey, you're just special. You're just going, or you're setting the edge. So you can just see, like, that's the only reason with Ike, I'm just a little bit or a lot more hesitant with him versus a guy like Canada, because both of those guys don't have a lot of experience. Now, Ike has more NFL experience, but neither have coordinator experience.
Right. Yeah, I'm good with whoever they pick because I think it goes back to what you said. I think you could spin it as a positive no matter how you look at it. I think it just goes back to the beginning where you said about the due diligence, because I was talking to actually one of my buddies yesterday watching the game, and he was talking about the OC and like Canada and stuff. He's like, dude, I'm just happy they're like interviewing other dudes because
seriously,
I feel like that's just a little bit more towards like at least we're exhausting all resources here and trying to see if we can get the best guy in.
Because we talked about when they just we're gonna Canada interview here, we're gonna make him the guy. We were like, man, we understand the continuity, but it also looked kind of cheap. It also looks like you're just going with, all right, he's here, it's convenient, versus really trying to turn over every stone. And I will say this once again. We've criticized the organization at times. We even criticized Coach T at times. But the one thing I'll say about both organization, Mr. Rooney and Coach T, as it stands today, everything that they've been saying, they've actually been doing in terms of, hey, this isn't acceptable. Changes will be made. We're going to do whatever it takes to show that this isn't acceptable. And typically we've heard that before, but we don't really see mass changes. We didn't really see it to that extent. But I mean, it's what, 2 weeks since the season's been over?
I mean, this is probably the most change in coaches
crazy,
and stuff I've seen my whole life.
So for me, like, I do appreciate them not insulting all of our intelligence, right? Don't tell us you're going to do this, but then your actions do something different. Right here, their actions are actually aligning with what they're saying. Now, it doesn't matter if the end result equals them hiring from within, promoting from within, that's fine. But at least show us that what we've been seeing the past 3 years isn't going to cut it. And you guys understand that it's not going to cut it. I feel like we've seen that at least these past 2 weeks right now.
Sure.
Another episode brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook and app. Deke. Not only is it safe, baby, but it's secure and reliable. And for all the first-time users out there, if they use the promo code MOATS, they'll receive up to $150 $1,000 in deposit bonus money. That's a lot of deposit bonus money. You know that, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a fair amount.
That's a good amount of money. Good amount of money. So, with that being said, download the app, use the promo code, and you can get an opportunity. Because that's all you want, is an opportunity to make that money, baby. That's it. Download the app, use the promo code, get the opportunity, baby.